Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jorge Perez from wutanshaolinkungfu. Today we have a special interview with Master Vincent Mei. I broke down this interview in 3 different parts, so please make sure to check all of them. Master Vincent Mei is from the Tang generation and is a disciple of Master Chen Ling. He's currently managing and teaching at the Wutan, New Jersey, in New York. If you want to know more about Master Vincent Mei, stay with me and let's get to it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Jorge Perez from wutanshaolinkungfu, Master Vincent Mei. We're here to do part 3 of our interview. I'm here in Master Vincent's house. Thank you one more time for having me here. We will continue with our interview, and Master Vincent Mei has been working, or is currently working in Baji project, and I would like to talk about it. I would like you to explain what it is and how it is contributing to preserve and promote not only the Wutan styles, part of them, but also the Chinese martial arts in general.
Yeah. It all started from the pandemic, right? I also, like many people, I never believe in online teaching. This is martial art. How can you teach martial art through remote?
Yeah.
That's impossible. And because of pandemic, everybody was doing everything remote. And I had students who hasn't practiced for months at the time in 2020. So I'm like, okay, so let's gather people, let's do some Zoom, we can do some training, right? Because in our training, in our lineage, we do a lot of drills. Why not? We can still do drills, we practice together, instead of practicing by yourself. So that's a step better. So we do some online training together. And then I tested the water and then opened up an online class for Wutan, New Jersey. And then quite a few people, about 15 people at a time, and some people drop out, and we formed a class. And then we started from the basics, focus on, the drills, the mabu gongbu and the mabu chongquan, like all these drills, all the important drills that we use to train to develop Baji Chuan structure, biomechanics, and power. Mm-hmm. And the next thing I realized is that you don't need to be in person to do these drills. Mm-hmm. This is just as effective to train remote. I can still watch somewhere is wrong, incorrect. And then what really make the difference is that I will require students to do a quick recording of their homework. Every week I give them homework, and then they will do a recording of that homework and then send it to me. When I get it in my phone, I can literally go frame by frame and then pick out something that's wrong. Mm-hmm. You cannot do that in person. So that's one big advantage of teaching remote, these homework things, that you can really examine the movement and then you provide feedback. These are things that you cannot do in person, because in person, the person just do that move. Sometimes you can't tell a person to freeze. Mm-hmm. Freeze there, you can't do that. So online teaching, you can do that. And also another great thing is that when people do their homework and do a recording, they watch themselves. They watch that's wrong, re-record. So that's also a really important part.
I've been through that with the...
Yeah, you watch your
oh,
elbow.
God, yeah, all the time.
Right, so that's something you typically, in person, you don't see that. And this provide a huge value. Obviously, it comes with a lot of disadvantage. I can't adjust it quickly, or you cannot feel the application, things like that. That's, we all know that. But it doesn't mean online teaching is not, it should be discounted. Then Baji Su established, I want to try something new because more and more people are starting to reach out. Do you teach online? Do you offer some sort of online classes? Because during the pandemic lockdown, a lot of martial artists, yoga studio, or a lot of these type of fitness, even fitness training, they started offer Zoom classes. And then I want to try something different, streaming, right? So streaming service is that because I only have, my time has maxed out. So how can I expand and teach all these people these drills, which I have proven it works with my Wutan students. The Wutan students were taught by Zoom. It's a live lesson. Then let me try something that's streaming, meaning I pre-recorded it. But I still provide personalized feedback, but the lessons are pre-recorded. So more people can access to it. I name it Baji Su because this is something new. And I don't want to put the Wutan name on it. Like, what if it doesn't work? You know, it's like, but so far so good. We're trying something new. And also, obviously, I collect tuitions and things like that. So I don't want to make it feel like I'm using Wutan's name to make a profit or anything like that.
Yeah.
So to avoid the complication, Baji Su was founded. So we try out for our first class, the bear group. And then we have about 24 people started to register. And then I think even till today, I think 4 people drop out. We still have 20 really active and dedicated students from the bear group. And so far we have 5 groups. And you joined the Sky group.
The Sky group.
That's the 5th group. So the reason I don't just like post a video, people just like access it. No, we have a very strict 20 people group. These people are, we call each other cohorts. So we're classmates. I also have a Facebook group that everybody's on it. They share questions, very dedicated space, no noise. So no one comes in and start, you know, posting ads or
advertising
talk trash. Nothing. It's just pure martial art, pure Baji Chen. So I love it. I think it's great. And I think it's really cool that people from very remote places can also learn about this. And you see some student, they have, you think the space is small. They have this kid. I think he's a Pakistan American. So his space is literally like this. He trained back up, one step back up, one step back up. Literally, 拳打卧牛之地. In a saying that you can practice martial art with a space where a cow can lay down. That's all you need. But his space is smaller than a cow, maybe a sheep.
Wow.
So that's really like inspiring, and that we can make a difference we can really promote Chinese martial art to someone who loves the art so much and just don't have access to it. And sometimes, you know, a young kid can be like, oh, telling his mom, hey, I want to join the martial art class. The mom can be like, no. But then in an online class that he trained his basement, you know, his parents may be like, okay, fine, whatever you do in the basement, right? So, but then he's becoming really good at Baji Chen. But the program is set up to be 2 years. All right, so the curriculum goes with, we start with Zhongyi Quan. Zhongyi Quan is a highly underrated form that was designed in 1986 for the military in Taiwan. But what's unique about this form is that it's so simple, but it was a co-collaboration of all the biggest grandmasters at the time. Yeah. Grandmaster Liu Yunqiao, Grandmaster Chang Dongsen, Grandmaster Gong Baozai. All these grandmasters from various different styles contribute to design this really simplified form. But simplify is an understatement because it has so much depth to it. A good form, we talked about form last time, a good form can train strength. It can train internally. It can train application. It can even play with a weapon. Zhongyi Quan can be played with a bayonet, right, for the militaries. It offers various different, it can train Fajin, it can train various different aspects. And that's a good form. So although the form was just created in 1986, it's still a very good form that within our whole entire curriculum. So we use it to as a starting form to train for about 2 months or maybe a little bit longer than 2 months to get the biomechanics, the movement, the structure down. Then we move into Baji. Baji to experience what Baji Chuan is, right? Because Baji is very open. It has all the characteristic of Baji Chuan. To get people to understand what is Baji Chuan a little bit. Then we move into Piguazang. So at this time we stop. This is already probably 6 months or 8 months. We stop Baji Chuan training and then we completely turn 180 to train Piguazang, Pigua Yitang. So at this time, as I mentioned earlier, everyone is like, what the hell is this thing? Why am I doing all these like slapping,
don't have to stomp anymore.
swinging, no stomping and no more power from the leg. It's all from the waist. So it created a lot of confusion, a lot of like resistance. At this time, you will see a lot of students stop handing in homework because I think the passion isn't there. But then if you pass through this, or I start telling students that treat this as the second stage, the next level as Baji Chuan training. It's not Piguazang. It's just the next level of Baji Chuan training. But whoever get through it, that's when they tell them, okay, this week's homework, give me Baji. And then everyone would be like, holy shit, what happened to my Baji Chuan? I'm not saying the Baji Chuan is better, but it's very different because the Baji Chuan becomes more fluid, right? More connected, more linked. Then after that, we train in Chen Tai Ji. Wutan has a really good Chen Tai Ji system. I think Grandmaster Liu made some modification to it with his experience and knowledge. I really love this short form of Lao Jia, 32 form. And I use it to train, okay, now from Pigua, move into a hyper control stage where you have to control every turn. From the fingertips to everything you have to be intended to move. After that, we move into Xiaobaji. Now with all the stuff that you have trained, we use Xiaobaji to boost the power. So all the Dabaji stuff that you learn now makes sense. So this design curriculum, that's it. And this will take about 2 years. And what used to probably take about 5 to 7 years in a regular traditional training setting.
Yeah.
So I try to condense it using the concept of mixed martial art to use various different styles to stimulate each other, to use Pigua to stimulate Baji Chuan, use Chen Tai Ji's characteristic to. We have Chan Si Jin too, but not at a level as a Chen Tai Ji's Chan Si Jin. So use it to really amp up the level of silk reeling, and Xiaobaji to amp up the power. So by this time, then I think whoever went through the 2-year program should have a pretty solid, physically, the foundation, the power, the structure of Wutai martial art or the traditional martial art. I think it's a segue into, no matter you want to move into Changquan or Xingyi or Bagua, I think you should have that solid structure to move into any of those styles. Right now, I'm still designing the second stage of another 2 years of training curriculum, just because people are starting to ask me, so what's going to happen to us after 2 years?
Next,
yeah.
Right?
So I'm designing the second phase.
And
I'm very happy with it, with this program. I mean, it takes away a lot of my time, but so far we have about 80 students around the world, and it's amazing.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. Obviously, for the second phase, you have to complete the first one first.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Now, talking about this, especially these new students online, and not only online, but the students that you are teaching in person as well. What do you think are, can you explain the practitioners' expectations and the levels Minjin, Anjin, and Huajin?
Very good Chinese. Yeah, so
thank you.
Yes, I think that's a really good point. Expectation is key. Back in the days,
just so everybody know, nobody teaches us So when you start training martial arts, you have no idea what's this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they understand, they experience this too, because the traditional way would be, the teacher would be, just practice, just practice. You're not doing enough, just do practice.
Yeah, practice and then
so
ask.
The student has no idea when he will reach a certain level. That's like all a myth. Only the most dedicated or the most squared personality can reach that level. And maybe that is what the old master is looking for, right? That's how they really chisel the personality into who they want. But I don't think it's suitable for the future. For the sake of, like, I think expectation is really important because it needs to evolve. Our way of teaching needs to evolve. Martial art needs to evolve. And sometimes I hate to say, this is the right way of doing things, right? So there's no right way of doing things. This thing evolves over the past 1,000 years. Who to say it should stop now and everybody should do it this way? And things should evolve over time. And it's our job to evolve it to the next level. But evolution is something that is tricky because you must adopt and learn and master what's passed down to you. Then you can evolve. You don't just take a look at it and then, oh, I can do better. Then it becomes nothing. It becomes a new thing, but it's definitely not an evolution of this. Mm-hmm. So the expectation is a huge thing because how do you know you're good enough to move to the next level? How do you know you're doing things right? So we try our best to set expectation. And as Jorge just mentioned, there are, in general, in martial art, we always talk about, in Northern martial art, we talk about Mingjing, Anjing, Huajing. So these are like the general terms of different stages of your training or development. Mingjing is something that's visible, right? So you can see it, right? Someone who's very strong, like just training like to kicking and punching. So basically, all the striking art that you have seen, boxing, those are all considered Mingjing. All right, mm-hmm. You become stronger and faster. You hit. So those are Mingjing.
Physical.
Right, you use muscle. And then Anjing is the next level. So as you train for longer, you become a level where you can rely on your structure. For example, Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. So mm-hmm. That's considered as Anjing. He doesn't need that one inch. He can attach to it and he can still apply that power. How does he do it? It's not, he doesn't need that space. Yeah. It's only because he's using structure. He's starting to apply structure into his striking, right? So that's Anjing. So you rely on structure versus muscle. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes in Baji, for example, the movement that you go slow. This is a punch, but why is it so slow, right? So Anjing also means you can't see it. You can't, something that you cannot see becomes, it also means it can change. It offers variation, it can change. So that's also in the form that you see something that's going slow, that means it's bound to change. It's not like, okay, it's going this way, this has to be a punch. It doesn't. It means it can grab, it can do certain things. So that's why Anjing can also mean that.
I learned from Master So that specifically move in Tabachi can be used also. Guy grabs a dagger and
that's a surprise, right? Surprise level, yeah.
Yeah.
So the change, the concept of change is a deep theory in Chinese, right? So the I Ching, right? So it's a deep study of change. Some of the highest level martial art is all based on this word change, transform, change. Mm-hmm. Then the highest level becomes Hua Jin, all right? So sometimes you will see those seemingly magical footage or videos online. You will see some Tai Chi master, someone touches them and they fly away. There are a lot of fake ones, but a lot of fake ones. But I gotta say, unfortunately, to some of you, it is real, because I use Tai Chi, for example, because Tai Chi is a specific style in Chinese martial art that studies this. Hua Jin. Right? Hua Jin is a level where it's not just your physical Hua Jin. Right? Let me talk about physical first. It's a study of balance. It's a study of calling and tricking balance. So from a touch, from a lot of internal movements integrated. When you move from Mingjin, Anjin, Huajin, you build up that ability to intake, to feel sensitivity, you feel power, intake it, transform it, but put it back to the person, and the person, without even knowing, their balance get tricked. So on the lower level of Huajin, this person will be off balance. They'll probably do this. On a higher level, they would draw your power in and then return it. So that's when you see the person falls away. It's a real thing. Now, can that be applied on the fighting stage? Maybe not, right? Because it requires you touching somebody, and we're just humans. You probably can't react to someone who throws Mayweather's quick jabs. So, but it's a study, right? So that means that's a next level, but also means your mental stage has reached to a stage where that you're able to transform and dissolve anything that comes to you. You're able to provide solutions and things like that. It's just a different stage in a human development. Yeah.
That's very interesting. But then how do you know in what level are you? How do you know you kind of reached Mingjin, Anjin, Huajin?
I think that's the part when
especially Huajin.
Yeah, I mean, Huajin is obvious because, like, I still remember a long time ago, completely out of accident. This is when I first realized this, when I was like maybe 21, 22 years old. When you do push hand or try to wrestle around with your Kung Fu brothers or sparring, I was doing push hand with Brother William, and this was completely out of coincidence. That split second, he was applying a power, I was doing this, I didn't even know I was doing that. Somehow I redirected and put the power back. Brother William flipped, he was standing like this, and then he flipped like this and then fell down. It was magical, right? So like, I have no idea how I did it. So somehow his power got drawn in at the right second. I did the right thing, and then it was returned. He went off balance, he slipped. It wasn't a fall, it was a completely went airborne and fell down. So that's when I realized, okay, so what if someone can train themselves to do that by will every time I can do it? So then later on you see these Tai Chi videos, that's exactly what happened. And it's true, it is real. So like, just imagine like if I say, okay, you push me, so I push harder. So you feel that fall in, right? So Tai Chi is a study of that, to really understand. You can feel, okay, that power is coming, so let me let go, right? So,
or redirection.
Redirection, right? So that's that. So when you can do something like that, obviously you know you have Huajin. But a step lower, Anjin. Anjin is something that you're able to really comfortably use your structure. And even in, like Baji Chuan, for example, we always, in my opinion, Baji Chuan is an internal art. So when you do something that's internal, then you're relying on your structure. You're less relying on your muscle. So a characteristic of internal art is that it's really close quarter combat. So you stay really close to your opponent, right? When you stay really close, you don't have the mass times speed, with the distance, traveling. So you get really close. But then that's through expansion or these type of things.
You kind of use your entire body to.
You have to. So that's the level of Anjin, right? So you can attach to someone and then apply power. And that's part of why we hold a hollow fist in Baji Chuan, is that this thing holds change. This means change. So this can be a tan, and then you fa jin, or not, you can change. So a hollow fist, as Grandmaster Liu always say, 全要空. Okay, obviously he has a deeper meaning. 全要空also means you don't want to be tense all the time, so you want to be kong. But he applied that to the ideology of Baji Chuan as well.
Okay.
So yeah, in my opinion, he took Baji Chuan to the next level. Yeah.
So now jumping into my area of expertise, I'm gonna call it that way. Do you like competitions? Because it's this is an interesting topic, but because everybody has a different point of view, especially if they did or did not competition, and how traditional you are. Because the more traditional you are, probably you don't compete anymore. You don't like it that much. But also talking about history, and I think I've talked about this in the channel. Like back in the day, they used to go and fight different people to test them and see who was better, who had the best style, for example.
Yeah.
I would consider that competing as well, even when they were not getting a prize for it. Somehow.
They get title.
They get title.
Title and fame.
Exactly. So, any experience in competitions that you want to share, and do you see any benefit in competitions?
Oh, of course. I think in today's world, competition is a goal, is a milestone, right? So, I had a student. He's also my Sishong, right? So it's a funny funny story. He's in Malaysia, all right? So Damon. So he recently joined a competition. He got a gold medal doing piguazang. He got a silver medal doing doing Baji. So he's older than me, but he registered himself to the tournament. I don't know what's the reason, but it was so good because he put himself a couple months of preparation to stand in front of the audience and the judges. So there's a lot of mental pressure.
Yeah.
Master Chen always tells us that when you go perform, you need to have that sort of the mentality to put yourself in front of everybody and do your best, your best version to the people, right? So that has, and things can happen, right? Whether it's the stage is too small or the floor is too soft or whatever. So you have to adapt, and that's today's world's sort of the test, right? So you have to. Some people like to spar. Some people like to fight. The competition in forms is also a test for yourself to put your best version out there. No matter mentally or physically, and try to reach to the perfection. You're trying to hit gold medal.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? Ultimately.
Right. So I do think competition has its value. Definitely has a good value in today's world to join. And I myself is preparing some of our students, the in-person class students, to participate in some of these competitions, in the local competitions.
There's a lot in New York, around. All year round, right?
Yeah.
And did you compete at some point? Or
no, I perform a lot, but not competition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No competition. Okay. Good to know. And now, from your perspective, can traditional kung fu be seen as a sport and also as a martial art at the same time?
Yes, of course. I think we have to, as I say, we have to evolve. We have to adapt, and the world changed. So to a certain aspect of it, no matter it's for the sake of traditional martial arts survival or to move forward into the future, we have to adopt some of the modern world's way, right? So sports is a safe way to promote. It's a safe and recognizable legal way to a stage for us to exist and promote it. But obviously it comes with a lot of side products, side effects, right? Yeah. So when you move something into competition or sports, we see a lot of examples such as fencing, such as kendo, taekwondo. So these are examples that, the original art changed.
Yeah.
Going for speed and points.
Taekwondo, it's a perfect example for that.
So it becomes a lot of points, point-driven. Kendo as well. I used to have a student. He's really good in competition kendo. So when I was teaching Kung Wu Jian, he cannot understand the concept of contact. So why do you need contact? So I just want to hit you in the head, no matter it's a touch or whatever, as long as the sensor hits, there's a point. So through years of training in sports, that becomes the purpose.
Yeah.
But what if, and they're wearing guards, right? But what if you're not wearing guards, and those bamboo sticks becomes sharp blades.
Yeah.
Your number one goal is to control, control the situation so you can survive, and then you find a way to winning. I mean, obviously there's a level of the culture differences. In Chinese culture, it reflects in our martial arts. Chinese martial art tends to like to control. So that's why there's always a jieso. Before any move, any application, there's always a contact, right? So weapons is the same. So the ideation of sports changed that. Fencing, same thing, right? Fencing, they go for the point. It's just a thin little, weapon, right? So you cannot take that and go on a battlefield to fight. In the weapons form competition, all these like flappy swords or sabers, they make sounds because they can create that kind of a visual effect for the judges. So speaking of which, to the last question, the reason why we never compete, because Master Chen just said, he told us one thing I still remember. Who are the judges? It's like, who are you to judge me? So that was his reason for not competing. Is like, what do you know to judge us, right? So it's also like, I mean, he's very proud of his kung fu. So that kind of we kind of inherited that.
I see.
So that's that.
That's funny. Now jumping into that, right? What is the concept that you have of a master? What's a master for you, and what do you think are the characteristics that every master should have?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said earlier in the first episode, it was Sifu, right? So in the Western world, people call me Sifu Mei or Sifu Vincent. I think it's fine just because I think it's part of the whole package of promoting the tradition and the culture. And instead of people saying sensei, right? Like my son doesn't know, he watched Ninja Turtle, he would call me sensei. I was like, don't call me sensei, right? I'm Sifu, right? And then, so...
especially not sensei, right?
Yeah, because of Chinese the culture is heavily, I say it 3 times, influenced by Confucianism, right? Confucianism is really important in the whole Chinese culture. It's the way we think. Even till today, our modern people still behave and think like following that ideology. It affects China before Taoism, before Buddhism. So it's the oldest so-called belief or tradition or religion that the Chinese people follows. And Confucius is some people worship him as a god, right? So he's the god of teaching. He is the teacher figure. So Lao Shi is teacher. That is the ultimate highest level. Sometimes even the emperor would call his teacher Lao Shi, right? So even there's no other title in the Chinese history that's higher than emperor. Probably teacher is the highest title if you have to name one.
Okay.
Right? So that is part of our culture. So Lao Shi is number one. So
I didn't know that, Vincent. I thought Lao Shi was more kind of a regular instructor.
Like a teacher, yeah.
Yeah.
But it can also means that title, right?
Okay.
It's a simple title as a teacher, but then it's also someone who's very high level that has the knowledge that can share with people, can influence people. Shifu is a later on terminology that defines that role. It has a fu as a father. So this person is my father. I'm recognize this person as my father, not just the person who's teaching me the art, which means this person is responsible for my action, the way I speak, the way I talk. Like, some Sifu are very influential or they really insert themselves into their students' lives. There's another interesting term in Chinese. It's also called Sifu, but it's a different fu. That is a master. when you say you're a master of something, you're just master of something. You're master of ramen, a master of noodle making, whatever. So that's a skill set.
Any skill. Okay.
It means skill. So they both pronounce as Sifu. So only one of them has the father. So to gain the title of Sifu, it has to go through that ceremony. And the way I was taught, and Master Chen told us that, you know, like when Grandmaster Liu told him that, hey, Changlina, you're old enough you can have some of your disciples. But Master Chen never took in any disciples when he is in his 30s or 40s. He thinks he was too young. I mean, he took us in when he was, 47? Ish, late 40s. Yeah. But even at that time, he still told us that he thinks he's too young. So that idea has always been in my head that you know, you need to be someone who's mature enough to guide, provide guidance, and be responsible for someone else. Okay. Now, obviously, in today, like nobody wants all my students. They like if one day they become my disciple, they don't want, you know, me to like guide their life or whatever. So it's a different time. It's a different time. But I think Sifu now is, at least, you know, I take myself very serious in becoming that role one day. So, yeah.
Interesting, because everybody will have a different opinion. Some of them just is more, well, you're a master. Your master is if you are already teaching. Yeah. And as simple as that. I think, you know, take it to the next level. It's different, like you just.
Yeah, I think in the Western world, a master is mastery. Someone who is mastery in something. The god of. It can be like he's the master of, let's say in Japan, Juro, Master Juro, right? So he's a master of sushi, right? Yeah. Obama has to like eat his sushi, right? Yeah. So he's really good at it, and he has mastered a certain skill set, even to a point where he enters we call it Ru Dao, right? He through sushi making, he enters the way of Dao, right? So someone who's really good at bonsai.
So that Dao would mean kind of wisdom?
Wisdom, yep. Right. Enter the wisdom of life. Like he can use this to translate into life. Okay. Right. So someone who, like in Japan, they have like people who are good at a bonsai tree. They do the tree cutting like Miyagi-san.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he has that Dao, the enter Dao, Ru Dao. Yeah. But then that's also a skill. But when someone can enter Dao, then I think that person is at a level who can has the ability to also influence other people as well. And he's also earned the title of Sifu. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's the end of our part 3 of the interview.
That's it?
That's it.
I can go all day.
Yeah, right, I know. I'll bring more topics for you in the future. Don't worry about it. No, with all seriousness, thank you very much for having me
thank you,
in your
thank
house.
you. I have to say, you know, I've been, you know, noticing your channel. You're slowly building it up. I think it's good, you know. Through this opportunity, I also introduce a lot of the concept of Sifu or tradition into the audience. So I think this is great. I thank you for that, for the opportunity to explain this level of the culture. Share this level of the culture with the audience as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much one more time for especially having me at your house. I really appreciate that.
You drove for a whole day.
I did. I've been driving for probably 8 hours.
Oh my gosh.
But I have to come through this way either way. So, but thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you for watching. This is the end of part 3 of the interview with Master Vincent Mei. Make sure that you check all the parts. Part 1, part 2, and part 3. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.